So yesterday I went to Chamberlain Book Mine, which is a local used bookstore. I picked up some more true crime books, as well as some other books. And I figured this was a good time to show off my true crime book collection. I'm going to start with Jack the Ripper. He was really what got me into true crime. I was 14 in 1988, which was the 100th anniversary of his killings. First up is Complete Jack the Ripper. This was an early one. This came out in 1975, so a lot more information has been released about the crime since then. This is the complete history of Jack the Ripper. This is one that I have not read. This is the Mammoth Book of Jack the Ripper. I have not read this one either. The first part is just the history of Jack the Ripper. The later section of the book is theories by different Ripperologists. This is Jack the Ripper, Definitive History by Paul Begg. I have read this one. This is Portrait of a Killer, Jack the Ripper Case Closed by Patricia Cornwell. I have read this one, and supposedly she did a follow-up book that I have not read. This is Ripper Diary, The Inside Story. I have not read this one. I did read the Ripper Diary book when it was released. This is Prisoner 1167, The Madman Who Was Jack the Ripper. This is another one I have not read. Jack the Ripper, Letters from Hell. This is kind of different from the other Ripper books. This has reproductions of letters that were sent to the police and the press. I have not read it. I believe it just deals with the letters. It doesn't go into the case itself. Moving on to Vincent Bugliosi, Till Death Us Do Part. I used to have this in paperback. I have read this. This was the first hardcover edition I could find, and it is a first edition. Of course, Helter Skelter, probably the most famous true crime. Dust jacket here was torn when I bought it, but my niece ended up getting a hold of it and ripping it further. This is also a first edition. Next up, And the Sea Will Tell, another excellent book. There's an interesting part in here where he speaks about the Green Beret who was convicted of killing his family. I believe the book written about it was called Fatal Vision. I have not read that. But he was approached to represent him, and he explains why he decided not to do that. Up next is Outrage, 5 Reasons Why O.J. Simpson Got Away with Murder. Next is Reclaiming History, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Some people might not consider this true crime, much more of a historical book. This is the longest book I've ever read. It took me about a year to get through it. He actually has the endnotes back here on a CD-ROM. Moving on to John Douglas. I believe this was his first one, Mindhunter. Journey into Darkness. Obsession. Unabomber, On the Trail of America's Most Wanted Serial Killer. I've not read this one. The Anatomy of Motive. I have not read this one, or this one. Anyone You Want Me to Be, A True Story of Sex and Death on the Internet. The Cases That Haunt Us. I have read this one. This deals with a bunch of different cases from Jack the Ripper, the Lindbergh kidnapping. This one's an excellent book. He has written one on the BTK killer. I was not able to find that one. Moving on to Ann Rule. Every Breath You Take. The Stranger Beside Me. This is Green River, Running Red, the real story of the Green River Killer, America's deadliest serial murder. This one I just picked up yesterday. I did read a previous book on the Green River Killer that was put out before he was captured. This is Green River Killer, a true detective story. This is put out by Dark Horse Comics. It is a graphic novel. It's written from the perspective of a detective who worked on the case. His son actually wrote this story. This is Perfect Murder, Perfect Town, John Bonet in the City of Boulder. I have read this one. There was 2 other John Bonet books I read, one of them being the one that was put out by the family. Zodiac Unmasked from Robert Graysmith. I have read this one, and I did read his previous Zodiac book, Sleepers. I have not read this one. Guilty by the Reason of Insanity. I have not read this. True Chronicle of an All-American Town, A Death in White Bear Lake. The story of a town that wanted to forget those who wouldn't let them. This is another one I have not read. This is And the Dead Shall Rise, the murder of Mary Fagan and the lynching of Leo Frank. I have not read this one. This has to do with a murder that took place in 1913 in Atlanta, Georgia. This is Columbine. I picked this one up yesterday. As you can see, it's really rugged. It was the only copy they had. And on the inside, someone made a lot of notes and underlined a lot of passages in it. True Crime Addict, How I Lost Myself in the Mysterious Disappearance of Maura Murray by James Renner. This is another one I picked up yesterday. This is a case that I've been following for a while. This is the only book that's been written on the case, and I have been following the podcast Missing Maura Murray. The Devil in the White City. This one has to do with H.H. Holmes. I heard about him because some people consider him a possible suspect in the Jack the Ripper killings. This is another one that I picked up yesterday. That's all that I have, and that's it.